am Carla. I am a food addict, compulsive eater, and bulimic. I weigh and measure 3 meals a day from the gray sheet. I write my meals down. I call them into my sponsor, and I eat those meals and nothing else in between. And just for today, abstinence is the most important thing in my life without exception. And my abstinence date is March 31st, 2007. It's really good to be here. Linda, thank you so much for asking me. Thank you, Jen, for leading, and Tara for timing, and whoever our moderator is, and all the fabulous people who are here, all you all. So I, thus far, I have not known myself to be a restrictor. I am a bulimic, and I am a compulsive overeater. You know, I had to be really desperate and dying to be willing to do Gray Sheet. I was in Overeaters Anonymous for about 4 years. I got a lot of really great things there, in that, you know, I got that, okay, it's not a moral issue. You know, I'm not crazy. It's, you know, it is, and these other people who are here, you know, I have so much in common with them. And I also found out that I could, that it would work for me to have a God of my own understanding. You know, they did fun things like, you know, I remember writing a want ad for my God. And that was really helpful for me. Number one, just that it wasn't so intense, that it didn't have to be right. And so those were really, really rich experiences. And I also, once I was there, I knew I couldn't go out to a big box diet center or whatever. She does that. You know, I knew that, you know, that I needed a spiritual solution. And so even when, you know, 3 moderate meals a day included a cocktail, you know, at some point that seemed moderate to me, because I was making those decisions of what moderate was. And, you know, and the plates got bigger, and it was like, you know, yeah. So, and I started lying to my sponsor, and eventually, you know, just started attending less frequently and gaining weight and all the things. I'm still so grateful that I got to be there, and that I was willing to keep my ears open, even when the person who brought Gray Sheet to Spokane, for me, really had a pretty off-putting way of bringing it. And you know, I went out and did more research, and gained another 50 or 60 pounds, you know, created a wreck in some relationships and in my work, as I had done repeatedly in the food since I was young. And, you know, those people who, you know, ate out of the huge bowls, and all the horrible things that you know, people would say, you know, oh, they're just obsessed about their food, and they're this and they're that. And I was, you know, I jumped on it. I was just like, okay, maybe, but you know, there were these 2 women I went to an OA, one of their annual events, because I just was desperate. I was starting to have a lot of physical ailments because of my weight. I got up to 325 pounds. I'm only 5'1". I was really miserable. And I walked in, and there were 2 women who had been doing OA, and they had a glow, as though, you know, they had something. They had a secret. I freaking wanted it. And so I started doing it. And at that point, you know, it just did not matter. I remember early on hearing a couple different things. One was a CD that I listened to with a woman with a lovely British accent that said, they could have told me I'd just stick my bum out the window, and I would have done that. Do anything, you know, to just not eat. And I've heard, you know, do people say, you know, yeah, anyhow. So it felt like that. It just didn't matter. I just really felt, you know, like I could see that, you know, that for the first time that the disease was really going to shorten my life. And so I'm going to jump all around, just so you know. I was a fat kid that was really miserable. There were no, bullying. It was a good gig if you could get it. I mean, I don't mean to, it was, I mean, they were the leaders in my growing up, and I was made fun of, and there were not attractive clothes. There were loud polyester smocks and things. My mom made my clothes, which was bad enough, but until she couldn't do it anymore because they didn't make patterns big enough. They didn't really know what to do with me. And so they, started putting me on diets, and, I know they had the best intentions. I mean, heck, they still seem to think that they had to get me married off. I mean, that was how they saw my life going, was they'd raise me, and, I'd get a file clerk job until I got married. And, I had really different things going on for me. But so they, I know that it was both a looks thing, and just my dad was overweight, and I think he knew that it was really difficult. So anyhow, I picked up other substances, including really dysfunctional people. I found out that, if I could, that I could be a people pleaser, and that way I could, I thought that, if people liked me, I'd be okay. So, I come from the slacker side of the compulsive overeater family. I come from a long line of easy chair people. So I really just I just got a job. I did the bare minimum that I needed to do. And I would go home and, get all my food and any other substances that I'd pick up. And my goal was just to not leave my chair, was just to, just really numb out until I fell asleep watching TV and could get myself into the bedroom and, and wake up and do it again, and just live to have that numbed out. It was really horrible. Let's see, I bought a house, and I lived alone for 8 or 9 years, and my disease really progressed during that time. My mom passed, and I started, that's when I really started binging. I believe before that I was just a 24/7 grazer, but the quantities just really, thank you so much. Thank you. And so, I wouldn't go to the same checker at the grocery store if I was there twice in a day, and, just would do weird things. And someone was qualifying the other day, and, I did lots of different diets. And it was how I just got how it was so hard to be in the grocery store when I was on a diet, and and I just had the voices talking to me. No, don't do it. You can do this. Just go past it. Get this, get that, get the other. And, it just seemed like it always won. I might get out of the store, but I drive around. I mean, it was just miserable. It was so anxiety producing. And, fast forward a little bit, my first relationship, romantic relationship of any significance, was in my early 30s, and we lived together. And that was after this time that I'd lived alone. And so it became quickly apparent that things had progressed. Because this person was always there, and I couldn't get my food, and it was horrible. And I'd try to hide my food. My stepdaughter at the time, she'd go to her dad's for half the time. I'd eat her food while she was gone, and then I'd replace it, and I'd eat it and replace it. And I tried to do diets with my partner, And finally, what got me into OA was she had a little mini intervention with me and said, I think you're a really powerful woman. I think if you could do this, you already would have. I think you're an addict. I think you need help. And it was the most loving thing. I mean, in my, Monday morning quarterbacking, that's why we were together. That's like a big thing. I don't know how it looks for her, but I'm so grateful for that. Okay, so we did the OA thing. Then, so I got into GreySheet, and it's been a few years, and it has been so great. One of the main reasons it's really great is because I would not be here. I would have, the physical. I have a legacy of heart disease in my family, and I was really miserable, and 15 more years of the same and worse. I just don't think I would have chosen to stay here. And I choose that every day when I wake up, and I write down my food, and I call it into my sponsor, and I weigh and measure. And it is the most important thing in my life, without exception. And it doesn't mean, life keeps lifing, as we all know. And I've had some no matter what's of the hangnail variety, of the surgery variety, of the heartbreak variety. I've had deaths. I've had a marriage. I had a divorce and an infidelity issue, not on my side. And I blew my knee out on a scooter and had, a nearly a year recoup. And I had to have a backpack on my shoulder, and I put my GreySheet food in from the, because I was on crutches, from the one part of the kitchen, and I'd have to schlep it over here and do this and do that. And, it's just been so worth it. I have made some really, really rich relationships in GreySheet. I do a lot of service. I started out at, timing and doing the readings and being a part of this group, of our meetings. And I still love to do that, very much love to do that. I was on the phone bridges at the time. It was such a blessing to have so many opportunities to plug in. And at the time, it really worked for me. I just felt okay. I mean, I got to, slice and dice my vegetables with, there. And it was on there that they announced all of the retreats. And so I went down and I got to take my first year chip at the Malibu retreat in California. And that was huge in and of itself for me to travel on a plane where I had just all kinds of hellacious, experiences as a morbidly obese person, and to get to LA and do all of those things solo and meet with a bunch of, people I didn't know. And it was so great. People were so wonderful. I went back several times. I love to go to retreats. I do more service now on committees and in world service. I have made such great connections with people. It's been nice in GreySheet. I've stepped up for service, about 2 months before I thought I was ready. And that's always when growth has happened for me in my life, when I've been willing to take that extra step to stretch, oftentimes because someone thought I could when I didn't think I could. And so that's been really rewarding for me. 10 years ago, I quit I was in nonprofit administration for a number of years in different ways. And I was just 1 minute, 2 minutes. Oh God, I love that. Thank you. So I quit my job and was trained to be a coach. And so I'm a personal life coach, and I've done that. I've had a small practice all along. And during the pandemic, I decided I wanted to go back to school. I hadn't finished my, I don't know why I said I hadn't finished. I barely started it, though I tried 5 times. And so now I have my associate's degree and I am in school to get my bachelor's, and it is so fantastic. It is just really, really great. And I'm going back next month to Utah to this beautiful Canyonlands to take care of this very eccentric elder gentleman. And, life is really rich. It is, I have gone through I have biological depression, and it's been a bit more of a tricky winter for me than at other times. I use, and what that means for me, though, being in Grey Sheet, is it's been harder to pick up my tools. And I don't mean to understate that, but it's just like, but it's not, I have not been in a fetal position in my bed. I have not thought about picking up food that is not on the Grey Sheet. I have not isolated and stayed alone and not talked about anyone. And I really have felt very little shame about it. And it's lifting and it's lifting and it's lifting and it's lifting. And I'm continuing to move forward. And that would just not happen. And I'm pretty sure it's been a long and fantastic 2 minutes, but I should probably wrap. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm so glad to be here with all you all, no matter what.